When we talk about sexual abuse, it can happen to the females and it can also happen to males. In our environment, we think sexual abuse is only on the females. Males are also abused.
Okay, in my own experience, so many people have given recommended different standards, but for me, I think it starts from when the child starts talking. Once your child starts talking, whether he's a boy or a girl, whether he starts talking at 11 months or 12, 1 year or 2 years, depending on what life and how nature has designed it, you can interact with that child. Start talking about body safety. Body safety is first of all about the child knowing himself, identifying his own body parts, and taking ownership, of his or her own body. So once the child can start speaking, because if you're a parent who is always very busy and and probably you don't have people around you can trust, okay, I mean, these days we have children who are taken to early child care schools, creches, from as little as 1 month, 6 weeks, 6 months, and sometimes it is those caregivers in the schools who can tell when the child started speaking, when the child started walking. So somehow they have some level of influence. So peradventure that child is falls into the wrong caregiver. Just imagine what will happen if a child is being taught about his or her body parts in the wrong way, or if a child is sitting around teachers who are perverse in the way they communicate about body parts. Just imagine the kind of influence you have in that child's life. So for me, once the child can communicate with you, try to monitor. Once they start communicating with you, let them know their body parts, speak to them. That's why I encourage parents, even if you have several domestic assistants at home, please be involved in bathing them. I started bathing my kids it's more like a law now. Once they turn 6 months, I start bathing them. Their mom doesn't bathe them again, and I've been doing so for the past 5 to 6 years now. And that is where they started learning the no pants rule. That's where they learned how. That's where they tell me their experiences. Someone touched their head, they will tell me. Someone poked their nose, they will tell me. Someone tried to mention their body part, they will tell me. So because I have been involved in their life, and no matter how busy I am, I make it. It's not easy. But I've seen that is one of the easiest ways to dispel any fears of that child being exploited by another person. So for me, once the child starts communicating, starts speaking, please start exposing them to body safety. Very, very important. Well, if you look at it in terms of range, I think for a population of over 200 million, where you have, of course, half of the population at 25, and then you have one in 20 young men or even boys, becoming sexually abused before they get to the age of 18. I don't think we have enough safe spaces. And there's also, for me, it's important to describe what a safe space is. It's it could be a community, it could be an environment, whatever that gives a boy a sense of belonging, gives him a sense of ownership, and a sense of and makes him feel loved, where he can also express himself, without being judged or without feeling any form of condemnation. We really don't have so many safe spaces to accommodate the number of young men who are abused, all around. So I don't think we have so many safe spaces for boys. Right from the very first camp I organized for boys a few years ago, and even camps I've also handled with other people, I've always insisted that body safety comes not just as a priority but comes first, because body safety is about a boy knowing himself, having a sense of who he really is, and not being ashamed, and also accepting the fact that he is male, because there are a lot of boys who are made to feel, probably because of the way their voice is, or probably because they grew up in the midst of women, that they start assuming that they are feminine, or probably because they are so compassionate, they are made to believe that they are effeminate. So for me, I've always prioritized body safety. I have 2 sons, and right from the time we started communicating with them, I've always, I'm involved in their life, so I insist that at every point in time, whether they're having their bath, we are playing, doing devotions, family devotions, prayers, and all of that, that they know who they are, and that their body belongs to them, and that as human beings they should be able to protect their body, because it's not just a physical form, it's also a symbol of their dignity. So I've always prioritized body safety, not just in camps, but in every program I handle with boys. The role of fathers in body safety is just like the role of air to a human being. Fathers are responsible, first of all, for proving for boys now, the identity as males. Fathers are responsible for teaching their children, and when I mean teaching, I'm not just talking about academic exercises. I'm talking about being role modeling, teaching them what it means to be a human being, teaching them what it means to teaching them values, teaching them discipline. And when I mean discipline here, I'm not talking about punitive measures that parents carry out, particularly in this part of the world. I'm talking about teaching them how to live a life of order, live a life that is bereft of chaos, live a life with a sense of direction. Fathers are responsible for showing leadership, and it starts from how he lives his life, how he conducts himself, how he treats their mother, who is his wife, how he treats people in his environment, his colleagues, members of the community. So the role of fathers cannot be overemphasized. And when it comes to body safety and sexuality in every sense of the word, I think that fathers, because in this part of the world, fathers are seen as demigods. There are things you don't discuss with a typical African father. But I feel that if a father can break that norm, and is friendly with his children, whether girls or boys, they will be more relaxed. In fact, they will be more comfortable telling him. Now, I'm talking from experience, not just as a father, and not just as a coach, but also as someone who works with boys firsthand. Within the past 2 years now, I've had very close contact with teenagers, some of them who've been exposed to sex early. Not necessarily that they got involved in the acts, but that they've been exposed to materials, and they want to understand why, and seeing that they have someone who they can confide in is as a result of how I connect with them without making them feel judged. And so you see them coming, so you see a boy having a crush on a girl, and he comes to you and says, I have a crush on this girl, and this is something that he wouldn't do with his biological father, but because I've been able to reach out to them in a way that they can appreciate, and a way that they can understand, it sort of creates an avenue for comfort when expressing themselves. So fathers have a role to play in modeling sexual responsibility, in teaching the children from the time they can communicate, that you are a boy, you are a girl, this is your penis, this is your vagina, this is how God has made you, and this is the reason why God has made you this way, and this is the function. Whatever you are hearing somewhere else is not how we should be, and teaching them sexual responsibility, teaching them how to forge the right healthy relationships. I believe that fathers have a role to play, and it starts from the kind of relationships they build. So I've had a boy, because sometimes a father's studies have shown that a father's lack of involvement in his children's lives increases the possibility of that child becoming a criminal, ending up in prison, for girls now, becoming pregnant very early, and all of that. So if we have fathers who will embrace their role wholeheartedly, who will listen to their children, who will observe, Some will argue with me that it's not good to be friends with your children, but I disagree. Who are friendly with their children, I think we'll have more stable families. Fathers who are really involved in their children's lives, who ask them questions in a friendly way, who try to even know who their children's friends are, without judging them. I think it will reduce a lot of the menace that we see today, particularly in the aspect of sexual irresponsibility.